All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be digging into some really fascinating stuff. It's all about how things are changing in the world of regulatory science. You know, the whole process of getting those new medicines out to people.
Absolutely. And we've got a whole bunch of recent studies and papers and things really trying to understand how these new technologies are transforming everything. We're talking adaptive pathways, AI, real-time monitoring, the whole shebang.
So basically, how are these things making drug approvals faster, making sure they're safe, and streamlining all that compliance stuff?
Exactly. We want to give you the key takeaways without getting bogged down in all the super technical details.
Perfect. So let's kick things off with this idea of adaptive pathways. Now, traditionally, drug development has been this very structured, kind of step-by-step process, right?
Yeah, you've got your drug discovery, preclinical testing, then those clinical trials, and finally, if everything looks good, you get approval. It's a long road.
Yeah, the drug development, from discovery to market source, lays it all out. But these adaptive pathways, they seem to be shaking things up.
They are. It's a much more flexible approach, much more iterative.
So instead of waiting for tons of data before a drug can even be considered, adaptive pathways might allow patients to access promising treatments earlier, especially for serious conditions.
Right, and the key here is that the data collection doesn't stop once the drug's out there. You're constantly gathering more information on how it's working, what the risks are, all of that.
That's a really interesting point. So for people with life-threatening illnesses, this could mean getting access to potentially life-saving treatments much sooner. But how do regulators make sure it's safe?
Well, it's not about lowering the bar for safety. It's more about acknowledging that with certain diseases, our understanding evolves as we see how a drug performs in the real world outside of those controlled clinical trials.
Right, so real-world evidence becomes this crucial piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Think of it like, in the past, you'd have to wait for the entire painting to be finished before you could see it. Adaptive pathways are like unveiling parts of the painting as it's being created, letting people see the progress while still making sure the whole thing comes together beautifully.
I love that analogy. It really captures the balance between urgency and continued evaluation.
Okay, let's shift gears now and talk about AI. Everyone's talking about AI these days. What's its role in regulatory science?
It's huge. Like in our season 2 deep dives, AI is like this super-powered research assistant. It can analyze these massive data sets way beyond what humans can do and find these subtle patterns, make predictions. It's really amazing.
So instead of scientists spending years poring over data, AI can sort of do the heavy lifting and uncover insights that might have been missed.
Exactly. And it's being used in all sorts of ways, from analyzing medical images to predicting how individual patients might respond to treatments.
So for example, in those Philips patents we saw, AI can analyze medical images like MRIs and CT scans and help doctors make better decisions. Right, and they've even got patents on how to pre-process that imaging data to make the AI even more accurate. It's like giving the AI better tools to work with.
So imagine AI going through millions of records and spotting a rare drug interaction that might have slipped past human researchers. That could prevent so many problems down the line.
Absolutely. And those Philips patents also talk about these really cool personalized models. They can predict how a treatment might affect a patient's quality of life, not just whether it works or not.
Wow, so AI could help doctors understand how a treatment will affect a patient's day-to-day life, not just their disease. That's incredible.
And it's not just imaging and prediction. AI is being used to develop rapid diagnostic tools. Like, there's this e-tool from Stryker that uses AI to diagnose stroke super quickly.
That's so important in stroke cases where every minute counts. So AI isn't just making things faster, it's actually improving outcomes for patients.
It is, and it's even changing how we discover and develop drugs in the first place. AI can analyze protein structures and predict which ones are most likely to be druggable, meaning they'll interact with a drug.
So it's helping scientists design better drugs from the very beginning.
Exactly. It's like finding the right key for a specific lock. But we have to remember that AI is only as good as the data it learns from. If the data is biased, the AI will be biased too. So we need to be really careful with how we develop and use it.
That's a great point. Okay, let's move on to our last trend, real-time monitoring. What exactly does that mean in regulatory science?
It basically means we're constantly collecting and analyzing data to make sure drugs are safe and that everything's compliant.
So it's not just about checking in at certain points. It's about having a continuous stream of information.
Exactly. And we're talking about using real-world data from electronic health records, wearable devices, all sorts of things. That gives us a much better picture of how a drug is performing in a real-world setting.
So it's like having this ongoing feedback loop, constantly assessing the safety and effectiveness of a drug.
Right. And it applies to manufacturing, too. This is where process analytical technology, or PT, comes in. It's all about designing and controlling manufacturing processes using real-time measurements.
It's like having sensors in a factory that constantly check the quality of the product as it's being made.
Exactly. It's about continuous quality assurance. If something goes wrong, you catch it immediately and fix it.
Makes sense. So how do these three trends we talked about, adaptive pathways, AI, and real-time monitoring, how do they all work together to make drug approvals faster?
They each have their own role to play. Adaptive pathways allow for more flexible approvals. AI speeds up the early stages of drug development, and real-time monitoring streamlines the whole compliance process.
So it's not about rushing things, but about using technology to get safe and effective medicines to patients as quickly as possible.
Exactly. And they also make safety assessments much more robust. Adaptive pathways allow for ongoing monitoring in the real world. AI can spot potential safety signals that might have been missed, and real-time monitoring ensures consistent quality in manufacturing.
It's like having this multi-layered safety net.
Exactly. And even after a drug's approved, we can keep monitoring for any long-term side effects that might emerge. Now, you mentioned quality by design, or QBD. Could you briefly explain what that entails?
Sure. QBD is a really important concept. It's about building quality into the entire process from the very beginning. So instead of just testing the final product, you're constantly monitoring and controlling everything to make sure you're getting a high-quality product every time.
Right, it's a more proactive approach. Now, I know our listeners always like to hear real-world examples.
They do. It helps to make things more concrete.
Right. While our sources don't have a specific case study that combines all three of these trends in a single drug approval, we can still highlight some cool examples of AI in action.
Great. Let's hear them.
So we've got Philips developing AI-powered tools to help doctors interpret medical images. That's already happening, and it's making a big difference. And then there's Stryker's AI tool for rapid stroke diagnosis. That's saving lives by getting people the treatment they need faster.
So even though we don't have a single case study that perfectly encapsulates everything, these examples show how AI is already transforming healthcare, and that's definitely going to have an impact on regulatory science. And those discussions around PAD and manufacturing, that shows how important real-time monitoring is becoming. It's not just about drugs. It's about ensuring quality across the board.
Absolutely. And it all points to a future where regulatory oversight is more dynamic, more data-driven, and more patient-centered.
It sounds like a very exciting future for regulatory science.
Yeah.
So to wrap things up, let's recap our key takeaways. We learned about adaptive pathways and how they offer a more flexible route to drug approval. We explored the power of AI in analyzing data and making predictions to accelerate drug development and enhance safety assessments. And we discussed the crucial role of real-time monitoring in ensuring quality and streamlining compliance.
And all of these trends are coming together to shape a future where new medicines can reach patients more quickly and safely.
Absolutely. And on that note, I'd like to leave our listeners with a final thought. As these technologies continue to evolve, how do you think the role of regulatory agencies will change? How will they balance the need for innovation with the need to protect patient safety? It's a complex question with no easy answers, but it's definitely something worth pondering. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.